I'm obsessed with this.
Welcome to Ms. Mojo Glow. And today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 David Rose quotes. Number 10, shame eating.
I'm Jake. David. It's nice to meet you, handsome.
In the second season finale, the gang all ends up at a party at Mutt's barn that they may or may not have been invited to. David and Stevie end up competing for the affections of a guy named Jake, who calls David handsome while he's making a drink. When David interacts with Jake again later on, he's enjoying a few snacks on his own and ignoring everyone else at the party. His hilarious self-awareness and sheer relatability in this moment is astounding.
Thought I was shame eating in private.
What is shame eating?
I don't think we have enough time for that tonight.
Number 9, one with nature. You might be able to tell within a minute of first meeting him that David Rose is not exactly the outdoorsy type. That's what makes this quote so funny.
So, you're a man at one with nature.
Yeah, I could not be more at one with nature. I do Coachella every year.
David ends up on Roland's annual turkey shoot after Stevie invites him as a joke when he's unable to kill a bug in the motel. Of course he wants to prove himself, and it's hard to say if this line is said in seriousness or as a tongue-in-cheek remark. But does it even matter? Number 8, job interview with Johnny. All 4 members of the Rose family have a lot of readjusting to do when it comes to their expectations after arriving in Schitt's Creek. David eventually, horror of horrors, has to get a job, and he decides to apply to be a bag boy. When his dad tries to help him prep for his interview, he's a little more candid than he should be when answering questions.
Tell me, David, why do you want this job?
I don't want this job.
Despite his lack of enthusiasm, he at least gets to try to bag some groceries. Number 7, life coaching. In the first season, Jocelyn approaches David to ask if he can help out with a student at her school. She not so subtly implies that because David is part of the LGBTQ+ community, he'll be able to relate to the young boy. David whips out his signature snark in response, chastising her for even considering him for such a task.
The idea of me life coaching another human being should scare you a lot.
Number 6, his birthday plans. The rest of the Roses forget David's birthday in season 3, and he decides that he wants to stay home and feel sorry for himself. He is unabashed about his plans, which may seem troubling or relatable depending on where you're at in life.
Do you have any plans for today, or?
I plan on popping a pill, crying a bit, and falling asleep early. So just a regular weeknight.
Luckily, Patrick convinces him to go out for dinner so that he's not alone. And the night ends up turning into a pretty important one. David and Patrick share their first kiss after Stevie gives them some alone time. Number 5, wrong things. After Ted and Alexis's relationship ends, she has a harder time getting over him than she had originally anticipated. When Moira casually mentions that she saw Ted canoodling with an older woman at the cafe, Alexis is obviously rattled. Moira, however, is totally oblivious to her daughter's emotions and keeps putting her foot in her mouth again and again.
Okay. I have never heard someone say so many wrong things, one after the other, consecutively in a row.
Number 4, human emotion. Speaking of Alexis and Ted's relationship, when Ted goes to David for advice about the situation, David is a bit flummoxed as to why he would confide in him.
I would hardly call myself an expert on this subject. And by subject, I mean genuine human emotion. So I am just going to tell you what I know.
Despite the fact that he's close with Alexis, he's probably right in his hilarious statement that he's not an expert in genuine human emotion, especially considering how much he suffered romantically. He does still manage to convey some important information to Ted. Number 3, connections. Not long after we're first introduced to the Roses, David makes his intentions in Schitt's Creek incredibly clear when he delivers this line.
What's the name of the mouthy kid at the front desk?
I don't know. I'm trying very hard not to connect with people right now.
We can't say we blame him. One of the most compelling things about David's character is the fact that he always manages to get close to people despite his best efforts. While he initially seemed closed off to making any new connections, it's clear by the end of the series that he obviously wasn't meant to live in solitude. Number 2, that option. This line actually precedes the quote in our previous entry about David's birthday plans. When his parents try to suggest that the family celebrates his birthday along with Alexis's graduation, David replies with this zinger, totally owning how self-involved he can be. Rather than faking interest in topics that he couldn't care less about, he's completely honest about his disinterest. And we can't help but love him for it.
Well, we'll just have to have a birthday and graduation celebration all in one.
Yeah, I'm very uninterested in that option.
It may be harsh, but hey, it's part of his charm. Number 1. Wine versus labels.
I like the wine and not the label. Does that make sense?
How did David manage to perfectly condense pansexuality into an uncomplicated metaphor about wine? After he and Stevie shared an unexpected intimate moment, she tries to subtly inquire about his sexuality, as she had previously thought he was gay. She uses the concept of wine to soften the question, asking if he always drinks red or sometimes enjoys white. When David catches on, he delivers this short and succinct monologue explaining that when it comes to relationships, for him, it's what's on the inside that counts.
I do drink red wine, but I also drink white wine. And I've been known to sample the occasional rosé. And a couple summers back, I tried a Merlot that used to be a Chardonnay, which got a bit complicated.
Okay.